Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. Today, we're talking the AI search optimization roadmap with Aleyda Solis. Aleyda is an international SEO consultant and founder of, I hope I pronounced this right, Orainti. Aleyda has created a 10-step AI search content optimization checklist. She's going to cover the importance of each approach in the checklist, how to take action, and examples of how to move forward and what to avoid. You'll learn the key differences between traditional and AI search and the steps to take to maximize your content visibility in AI search platforms. Aleyda, thanks for joining and take it away.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm very happy to be able to share with all of you today. I'm not going to expand a lot on my background, but yes, I'm an SEO consultant. I have my own SEO consultancy. I work with clients everywhere in the world, and I have been doing SEO since 2007. So I have been able to see the evolution of Google and search through the years as well. And I also have created quite a few resources regarding SEO and AI search, which I will share at the very end of the presentation, and hopefully will be also useful for to all of you to also keep learning and enhancing, expanding your AI search and SEO knowledge in general. You will see that I have quite a bit in the presentation. I have a few tools, a few checklists. Some are free, some are paid. A few examples, resources, and so on. I will be sharing the slides at the end of the presentation, so no worries if you cannot keep up and get screenshots or notes of everything, because you will have the presentation at the end anyway. And I want to start with a little bit of a, sorry, I hear frustration based on all of what I hear and see, especially in social media. I am very active in LinkedIn. I have more than 100K followers there. So I post every day regarding SEO and AI search, and like every other post in LinkedIn is unfortunately lately about how SEO is dead, or SEOs even arguing if we should call ourselves SEOs with AI search or something else like AI search optimizers, GEO, or LLMOs, or there are so many acronyms, right? Realistically, I have to say that a lot of these posts come from people who have interest, let's say, in this. So many of these are AI specialists who want to piggyback and maximize, let's say, the opportunities into their fields. In other cases, these are non-specialized publications. Interesting enough, I was actually interviewed for this New York magazine article there, and it is pretty much clickbait, the heading, the title, because if you actually read the article, you will see that, for example, my take and the take of all the specialists who were interviewing the piece mentioned how things were shifting, evolving, but SEO was not the thing. Actually. So speaking so much about being that, it's like, I don't know, this type of approaches in order to get clicks at the end of the day somehow. But yes, there's that. The reality, though, is that there's a shift, of course, but we need to have a balanced approach, taking context into account in order to make investment in an ROI positive way, in a way that actually makes sense in our own context, right? I actually just literally yesterday ended a survey asking search specialists and digital marketers all over who, through my newsletter, I have an SEO newsletter that is called SEO FOMO, like news, weekly newsletter is completely free. And more than 200 people answered the survey. And I wanted to gather what is the take and the status and the state of things beyond of what I know firsthand and I see directly with my clients, right? And when I asked about if the clients of these SEOs who took, and digital marketers who took the survey had asked about the company's AI search visibility in the last year, and 91% of the answers were positive, which doesn't surprise me because I see it with my clients directly as well. And then, funnily enough, regarding all of these different new acronyms and how do we decide to call ourselves, most of the answers were that these decision makers at the end refer to AI search optimization like that, AI search optimization rather than an acronym, or just SEO for AI platforms as well. So there's definitely that regarding what acronym to use, but there's an obvious interest, right? So it's important to tackle it in a factual database way. And here's data from SimilarWeb. They literally track all of the website's activity, not only search, but in general. It's like pretty much like benchmark platforms to perform benchmark across different websites and apps and to assess which are the channels that are bringing more, how they are performing, and so on. And if we take a look at data there, we can see that LLMs are expanding, not killing search as a discovery channel first, because 95% of ChatGPT users also use Google, right? So it's not that they have shifted and stopped using one for the others. No. LLMs have opened up new opportunities and types and intents of queries that we were not used to ask in the past, because it's a new interface, new functionalities as well, new ways to provide information that is being used in different ways. So despite the ChatGPT growth that has been impressive, Google is still the search king with 14x the visits, right? Yes, the growth of ChatGPT has been huge and is already in the top 10, among the top 10 websites in the world, but it's still 5.8 billion visits in August versus the 83.8 billion visits of Google. So yes, there's definitely that. It's not that Google is dying just because of LLMs. Also, something important to highlight here. LLMs like ChatGPT and so on, or Gemini, and their answers also rely a lot on grounding when current factual information is needed. So when we search for something for which we need up-to-date information, the answer won't be sourced from the pre-training data of the AI platform. This is mostly used for general knowledge. So what is the capital of Spain? Yeah, Madrid. The LLMs already have integrated in their training data. But if I want something factual, like what is the weather right now in San Francisco at this time, and what are the expectations in the next 6 hours, it's very likely that for this sort of questions, LLMs will make use of something that is called grounding, which is pretty much connecting to search mode through the APIs that they have with their own services. In the case of Google Gemini, they go and take a look at the index. AI mode, go and take a look at the pages that are already ranking for these queries in traditional search to provide them and wrap and synthesize in another format. But they rely on this information that they have in the index. In the case of ChatGPT, that is what they have an integration and agreement with Microsoft/Bing, right? So they go beyond their static memory to retrieve real-time external information, using it as grounding to validate that they are producing accurate, up-to-date answers, right? So this means that SEO is still vital for it, because ChatGPT pretty much still rely a lot on this integration with traditional search, let's say, for their answers. In fact, something that I confirmed some time ago, a couple of months ago, as you can see here on the screen, this on the right is a blog post from my own site. I did a few tests and I confirmed, I tested and validated that ChatGPT was using Google search snippets, the snippets from the search results for its answers. A lot of people in the SEO sector and community were like, no, this cannot be possible. Why will they do that if they have Bing integration? Well, maybe because of accuracy, a wider, richer index that Google tends to have. And then, surprise, surprise, then a few weeks ago, you can see the screenshot here to the left. It was a coverage or research that was done by the information that was then reproduced by a lot of different publications here, showcasing how it was it was acknowledged that ChatGPT was using Google search to answer their questions indeed. So there's definitely that. So SEO is not that, just evolving, but here's the biggest question, right? Is traditional SEO as we have been doing in latest years enough to succeed in AI search platforms? Google spokespeople, they have people who are in charge speaking to the community. They do an amazing work, by the way, given the circumstances and restrictions that they have been the spokespeople to the community. So there's only so much that they can say. Otherwise, what they say might end up being manipulated at the end of the day, unfortunately. But Danny Sullivan, who's one of those specialists, was speaking at WordCamp, US, in Portland, a few days ago. And he had this presentation about the state of SEO, and in one of the slides, he mentioned and explained that good SEO is good geo, or whatever we want to call it, for AI search optimization, which I completely agree, as you might have imagined based on my previous slides. But I also want to ask, is that enough? Good SEO, yes, is good geo, but is that enough to continue doing what we have been doing to maximize our chances to rank as well as we can, or to be showcased as well as we can, right? So let's see what changes with AI search realistically, and how can we enhance and maximize our chances through optimization shifts that we can put in place in order to give the visibility to our brands that they deserve in AI search platforms on one hand. For that, I am going to share a checklist, and I will, along with it, provide a few insights that I learned with the answers to the survey that I just showcase again, and provide also a little bit of a reference of what is going on in our industry, and if there's a need, or a very important need, of a shift or to prioritize something accordingly, right? And maybe you can help along with that in your own teams or with your own clients, right? So these are 5 key areas of differences between AI search and traditional search, starting with the search behavior. With traditional search, it's true that people have become much more sophisticated in latest years. I remember when I started doing SEO, people were searching for 2-3 keywords. Not anymore. Search became much more sophisticated because people understood that the results became more accurate and better if they provided more context around what they wanted. However, traditional search was still relying a lot on short 3-4 terms, keyword-based one-off queries with high navigational intent, meaning that a lot of those searches were about a brand or wanting to go to a brand site. In many researches and studies, it has been shown how people, like, we are lazy in general, and rather than typing the address of the website, they search for the website name in Google as a bridge, as a door to go to the actual website. So there's a lot of that. Then with AI search, more opportunities, more changes became very quickly, right? Like with long conversational-based multi-turn queries, because it incentivizes a conversation. So it is much more normal to not trying to look for definitive answers in just one go. Also, there's a very high oriented intent. With traditional search, we classify intents in navigational, to go to websites, or branded, or transactional, or at the very end of the user search journey, of the conversion funnel, or commercial. But in this case, we saw a new intent arising that was very task-oriented, searching for things that we never searched for in traditional search. So, for example, please help me creating a detailed 6 months marketing automation roadmap for an e-commerce website. So this is something that is more than natural to ask to an LLM, to ChatGPT, but wasn't something that we search for in traditional search in Google, right? However, there's definitely an overlap. Like searching for something like marketing automation roadmap for e-commerce sites, yes, or learn marketing automation, or just searching for HubSpot, for example. This is more of the type of searches that we saw with traditional search. Then another difference, another shift is the query handling, where traditional search, we had single query handling versus something that we call fan out match in AI search. So the single query match is that when we search for an example, content optimization specialist, and in Google traditional search, we expected to see pages that directly match that query, that will fulfill that query, that specific single query that we use, right? Now, since AI platforms rely for synthesis as an outcome for the answer, in order to ensure that their answers are as comprehensive as possible, when we search for something, they will generate different variations of the query that we had included as an input. So if the search prompt is give me beginner's paddle tips, the ChatGPT will generate many different variations of those in trying to cover different angles of the query and to connect my requests with different type of contents that they will be able to use to provide a very accurate, comprehensive, and complete answer based on that. So the subqueries might be paddle advice for new players, or beginners paddle mistakes, or paddle surf techniques for beginners, or tip for starting in paddle, or paddle grip for beginners. So as you can see, all of them are semantically related. Yes, indeed, of course, but they tackle and focus my need in different ways, different angles, so they can provide me a much more accurate answer than what I had initially asked, right? Then there's the other side of this coin, right? Because of the what I was mentioning before with this query handling, single query versus fan out match, we have the page versus passage level targeting and optimization, right? With traditional search, when we search with this keyword, beginner paddle tips, for example, what Google will do was to look for pages trying to target that need for that query as much as possible in a comprehensive way, but at the page level, right? So the whole body of the page needed to be, let's say, as comprehensive, trying to answer this question in the way that was more accurate, authoritative, in a very authoritative way, also with trustworthy information, experience first as much as possible as well. So not only relevant from a semantic standpoint, but it had all of these characteristics that in SEO we call EAT, right? Like experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. That was also very easy to use and consume, etc. Right? However, in AI search, because the output are not pages that we can click to go to, but an answer that is synthesized from many different pages, what they do is that when they generate all of these little subqueries or various subqueries with the fan out technique that I mentioned before, they will go and try to find passages or chunks of content or text across many different pages that satisfy that particular subquery. So for example, this answer here about learning the basic strokes in paddle, prioritize control over power, etc., etc. This might come from two different pages that have snippets or paragraph addressing that particular topic. Doesn't connect me with a single page. It provides answers from many different pages, right? So as you can see, when you highlight the sources in ChatGPT, like a single paragraph outcome or answer might come from the data from three different pages as well. And how ChatGPT has done this? Well, trying to find answers in passages, in chunks of text that are in these pages that might be about something else in general, right? But they were mentioning that particular topic at that level, at some level within their content, right? And that is why it was matched. Authority and popularity signals, links versus mentions, right? The links was the way that Google introduced back in the day, not only to crawl and to go from one page or another to discover more pages and information and content, but also to gauge popularity. One link from one page to another was seen as a vote, as an endorsement, and well, it became much more sophisticated through the years. That's true. But yes, that was mainly a core popularity signal, right? And now with AI search, we have a newfound weight and importance to mentions and citations. So you don't necessarily need to attract that link pointing to your site with a very optimized anchor text or clickable text, as we always wanted in SEO and traditional search. But just a mention or already matter. Of course, if you ask me, I still prefer the link, because the link is not only a mention, but it also passes me popularity beyond than just a mention. But mentions, citations, references of your brand, or what you do, already have a weight, is already taken into account, right? So there's definitely that shift as well. And finally, the results presentation, ranked list of pages versus synthesized answer. And because of this difference in the interface, of course, the engagement will be different. The expectations and the goals that we take into account to assess success, we can also expect it to be different. So although the principles, as you can see, remain, these differences create shifts in AI versus traditional SERP optimization practices that we need to take into account. So from a crawlability standpoint, these are different platforms, and they have their own crawlers. They have their own bots that will try to get and obtain your information. So you better have rules that also allows them to access to your content in case you want to be featured in their answers, because many CDNs and many hosting by default will block many times anything that is not Google and the top 3 search engines as well. So there's this additional validation that we need to take into account. From an indexability standpoint, it has been confirmed through different researches that unlike Google, which has so much time of evolution and experience and sophisticated, they can render JavaScript. They can see the information that relies on client-side render JavaScript. This is something that ChatGPT crawlers cannot do, and other LLMs crawlers are as well. So it's important that if we over rely and we work with our development team, we might ask them, and I was sharing a few tools to validate this quite easily without going overly technical, but that we should assess as well in case we are over relying on client-side render JavaScript, and just because of that, AI bots cannot see our content, unlike what Google can, right? Relevance, because of the differences in user search behaviors and intent to target, well, maybe we are leaving some opportunities out there by not targeting certain type of topics and areas that are much more relevant to target because of the behavior that our users have in AI search platforms. Popularity, again, the bigger role of third-party citations and mentions as well that we need to take into account. And for example, some of my clients have decided to double down or invest a little bit more in digital PR that doesn't necessarily focus on bringing the link, but yes, positive mentions and in prominent platforms and in prominent publications. And finally, the metrics and goals to monitor visibility and sentiment in the answer, as well as traffic and sales, of course. But unlike traditional search, we won't be necessarily monitoring rankings per se because they don't exist anymore, and a much more direct connection to traffic. In this time, it might take longer to see the impact in traffic as well because of the type of satisfactions that users will tend to get from the answers of LLMs as well. So how much should you invest in AI search then? Then is about the alignment with the current SEO actions that you have in your organizations, the goals, impact versus efforts. And I asked a few questions here that I think is healthy to ask, reasonable to ask, about how much are AI platforms already bringing to your traffic, revenue, and impacting marketing goals, how AI search behavior differ from traditional search, what your visibility and traffic from relevant queries to target versus competitors. Maybe you don't have much to do because you have been doing such a great job in SEO, and you're the brand leader into sectors like the gap and the need right now. It's minimum, right? So what's the growth opportunity realistically? And how's your content already optimized for relevant AI search queries? And based on all of that, what's then there up for you to to take and to growth accordingly, and what will be the ROI for these additional efforts, and are they worthy to prioritize accordingly, right? So to answer all of this, let's go through this roadmap with a few examples, a few resources, so you can see that there are tools all out there that are able to provide information regarding all of these validations to be done, along with the results of the State of AI Search Optimization Search survey to see how we're already doing. This survey had 211 responses, and most who responded were whether SEO specialists or SEO managers or leads. Most of them work in-house and have quite a bit of experience, because 32% of the answers came from people who already have more than 15 years of experience, and 27% from 10 to 15 years. So yes, these are experienced SEOs and digital marketers. So the first step will be to research and assess AI search audience behavior, to see how it differs from traditional search, to identify the topics to target and prioritize accordingly. As of course, for this you can use AI search platforms, AI tools that provides this insight from AI search platforms. You will see that we'll go through a few of them, and we need to validate first of all, right? Like, which are the LLMs that our audience actually use. Not all of them use ChatGPT necessarily, or Perplexity or Gemini in the same way, or in the exact same share, right? So if you need to allocate resources, I need to prioritize, it's important to see which of these are already bringing value and where is your standing with them, right? Identifying the most popular and relevant queries and prompts used by your audience to search for your products or services and run through the customer journey. Also, your current content performance, the mentions, the links, the sentiment versus competitors for relevant queries, prompts across this AI platforms that your audience uses, and establishing your relevant queries and prompts and topics to target those that are actually aligned to your business, that actually make sense to target, not too broad, not too specific, not too off topic as well. And the first thing will be to leverage analytics, your analytics platform. Most of them use GA4, Google Analytics 4. Their interface has evolved a lot in the last few years since it was launched, but I still dislike it, and I think it's still too, let's say, not ideal in order to facilitate analysis. So I really like to leverage Looker Studio, and there's this dashboard here that you can access here from the folks of Radiant, that they made it available for free, that you can connect your analytics data and directly see the AI traffic analytics performance, the top pages that are being consumed, which are the platforms that are bringing more traffic and conversions as well. You can see the events, the sessions, the average conversion for each one of them. So it's interesting. So you don't only see, let's say, what the activity it is at a very high level, but go per section, per area. Are most of your audiences going to informational content or commercial or listing? Like, what is the type of information that they consume? Then we can leverage third-party platforms like SimilarWeb. They have a very strong AI report. They showcase, and they are able to showcase a benchmark of your website versus competitors, main players. So you can compare the top AI traffic platforms bringing you traffic, AI traffic, versus the ones of your competitors. Maybe the one that is bringing you traffic is ChatGPT, but all of your other competitors are performing so well in Perplexity and bringing most of their traffic and much more traffic in Gemini or Perplexity. And then it might be because something important to take into account, because maybe you take note and validate and assess later on and identify that you are blocking those chatbots, right? So not seeing the content of your site. So it's important to identify those gaps and opportunities. Then the tool also provides you the top AI traffic pages, the ones that are bringing more AI traffic, and the prompts, just like pretty much a sample of the top prompts that trigger each one of these pages AI traffic. Of course, not something completely comprehensive. This goes through also a filter to avoid any showcasing any personalization data. So what is important here is to take that as a reference to identify and validate the alignment with the type of the topics that you actually want to address and are already targeting and covering. And what is more interesting is that they allow you to do the same with your competitors as well. So you can see what is working very well with them and not working necessarily as well for you yet, and opportunities of topics to target and a new type of content to create too. Talk competitor pages and prompts as well. As I mentioned, you can see the evolution over time, what is working well, what is increasing or not. There is another tool that is called Profound. Profound has keyword research sort of functionality that allows you to gauge the popularity of a topic over time in any of the different LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, etc., and in which countries these are being searched the most. And again, the top relevant prompts related to that topic and similar keywords, similar topics that are semantically connected that people are also using as well to give you ideas or references to expand your research. There's another tool that is called Systrix that has also its own AI module that allows you to do a research for any topic, and it will tell you not only the top brands connected to that topics in LLM's answers that are showcased the most, but also citation sources for each one of them and the inclusion in most of them and or not, and what are the gaps and the opportunities. So this is research that I always do, not only from a topical standpoint, validating there and assessing there for the topics of my top product lines or service lines of my clients, but also the brands versus the ones of the competitors to gauge a little bit like how they are featured and the sentiment of the inclusions, right? Because many times, yes, they can be included as well, but the mention of their competitors might be positive and there's negative, so that is also not good and important to identify. Then optimize for content crawlability and indexability. And for this, you might want to, if you're not an SEO yourself or technical SEO, you might want to ask a little bit for support. However, it is fundamental because it's the base of everything to allow AI system crawlers to access your information and make sure that they can render, that they can see the content in your pages. And if you over rely on JavaScript for it, that might not necessarily be the case. So the first thing to do is to validate if you're blocking some of these AI bots through not only the robots.txt, but maybe CDN or firewall or hosting blocking blockage rules. I actually found out by using this free validator, this free tool that will tell you if you're blocking and what type of locking are you implementing to any of this AI bot crawlers. That one of the hostings that I use for some of my sites were actually blocking by default most of the AI bots. And when I ask, you can see here my LinkedIn post, they gave me all of this information that they were accessing without permission and using people's content without permission and so on, which by all means I understand, but it is important to provide visibility to this and to allow this like website owners and decision makers to make the decision if to block it or not, and to make it easy to do it, right? And rather than realizing it by using one of these tools and then having to get in touch with support, et cetera, right? But that was quickly solved, and I was able to allow all of the AI bots to see my content again. And then from a rendering standpoint, there are like very easy to use free Chrome extensions like the ones that I'm using here that will tell you how much of your content or your links or your configurations rely on JavaScript to be shown. And if you can see that there's an important gap here, the content that is not shown in the raw HTML and relies on JavaScript to be shown will likely be invisible for AI bots, because unlike the Google bot, they don't have the capacity to render JavaScript, unfortunately, yet. So you might need to prioritize this work if it was something that you had not necessarily prioritized because you thought that it was a problem with Google, but necessarily not anymore, right? There are also crawlers, SEO crawlers. Screaming Frog is a very popular, the most popular ones. Also, if you need larger scale cloud-based crawlers, you have Sybulb as well, that they have this very easy to go through validation to understand what relies on JavaScript and what not. They do a comparison of every single area as well. When I asked about this, by the way, are you monitoring AI bot crawls for your sites? Well, a lot of people still say no, but plan to, unfortunately. But then another share next. Yes, for some of the sites I work. Yes, for all of most of the sites. So this is good. But yes, there are still quite a few people there that are not doing it, and some that are not doing it and don't plan to, which is weird. But yes, if they don't do it, I guess more opportunity for all of us who do. And are you auditing your site content indexability for AI search platform? You see, validating this JavaScript dependability, let's say. And most of them have said yes, right? And those who say no, it's like, no, but I am planning to do that because it's definitely a must. Then establishing business online on brand topical authority. This is something very, very important because I understand and I know that a lot of decision makers with the informational content losing traffic because of AI overviews and LLMs. A lot of the effects of LLMs, unfortunately, have said, oh, we don't need to create informational content anymore. Let's focus on money making, more commercial content, right? But because of the query fan out technique that I explained before, it is more important to create a topical hubs, complete topical hubs that are able to fulfill and provide and seed those comprehensive answers that LLMs need. And it's better that we control the narrative rather than, well, making LLMs to rely on third-party information where the reviews of our products or services might not necessarily be as good, right? So it is fundamental to create content that goes through the full customer journey. The key here is to make sure that this content is on brand. It's not only about targeting generic topics that are popular topics in search. No, this should be content that should be meaningful from a branding and business aligned topics, right? To create awareness, to help through the decision making, and to support also post-purchase as well. There are tools that can help us to prioritize this. There are tools that have been released. These two here are free, and this will allow to generate this query fan out, subqueries, subtopics, keywords that I mentioned before that LLMs trigger or generate in order to be able to identify and match with content chunks in order to provide their answers. But of course, we can still use traditional keyword tools like SEMrush, or also ask to identify different keywords variations that are connected semantically with any term, any topic that we add. There is this tool that is YK. They also provide a freemium access as well, that they will actually create a knowledge map of your site, and they will directly showcase the thematic gaps and critical topics gaps in order for you to fill based on the website analysis that they do. And of course, there are content optimization tool, content creation optimization tool, like the one of Ahrefs AI Content Helper, which what they do is to identify which is the angle that you're taking to address, what is the intent of your content, based on the best performing content out there and the one that you have. And then from a semantic standpoint, they highlight here, and they do it in a very visual way, like which are the topics that you have already covered with your content and the one that still needs to be addressed, right? Because maybe you're targeting the topic from a more informational standpoint, but you're not mentioning something very, very important that all of your other competitors are already mentioning, right? So there's certainly a gap, and it might be something very worthy for you to do. As you can see, this is something that supports the writer, doesn't replace the writer, of course. It's very, very important that the writer still decides if it makes sense product-wise, business-wise, and so on. Then we have also tools like SimilarWeb that, again, since they provide us the information of the prompts, we can double check there. Okay, what are the top prompts for this pages here that are bringing more traffic, the ones that actually are moving the needle traffic-wise, to prioritize even further, right? And based on that, you can create something like this. I'd really like to provide this as an example because REI are doing pretty well. They are actually a competitor of one of my clients, and I see this every single time, how they are able to be a very commercially oriented online retailer that will tend to highly prioritize transactional content, commercially related content, but they integrate informational content very well in their listings, in the category pages with an expert advice tab. And of course, they already have their learn section, their guide sections, and what they do is to pretty much provide a experience first, expert oriented or based guide for any of the product lines that they feature on their online store, which shockingly is something that a lot of online stores don't do because they don't see how worthy it is. But because of what I mentioned before, it's very worthy to showcase that you are the authority in a field, targeting and addressing a topic, that you own a topic, and you are the authority of it, and are the source, or should be the source, providing or showcasing all of the answers of that topic, right? And then the next step would be to optimize for chunk level retrieval. I'm pretty sure that you have heard about this, like the passages that I mentioned before, that should be semantically tight and self-contained, one idea per section. Keep each text passage tightly focused on a single concept, well-structured, using accessible and well-formatted HTML. So it's easier to grab. The thing is, I have heard some crazy theories about this out there, like literally, I mean, write for users. If you are a good writer, if you know how to structure well the content, while following this best practices, let's say, that facilitate synthesis, then you should be good. There have been some tests here. So for example, Chris Green tested a few ways to format, to reformat the content, and Q&A, dense prose, structured content. What is easier? What performs better? Realistically, is that the difference is not very high. And at the end of the day, well, these systems are sophisticated enough to extract the information as long as it makes sense and is good for users, right? There is another piece that was published not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, from Href, mentioning how the best way to address it is to structure your content for humans as well as AI with an atomic content workflow. So it's each, what I mentioned before, each unit or each paragraph or each section should be targeted or should be treated as a standalone snippet. So it's semantically tied, self-contained, word address. And here's a very simple example, right? A good example is what is technical SEO, one clear concept, what is technical SEO, self-contained and understandable without needing other sections, structured with clear heading and concise explanation. And here's a bad example, learn SEO, but yes, multiple concepts jam into one paragraph, not only technical, but link building and everything all together. Lack of focus, not semantically tight. Heading is too broad and doesn't guide chunk retrieval, doesn't facilitate it, and requires surrounding context to make sense, right? Now, if you have this as an intro, no problem, you expand further, but this is only what you have regarding the topic, so bad. There is another free tool that facilitates to create chunks out of content that you can copy paste it all together, and they will create the structure and content for you and the chunks for you. You will see that this is something that you will do very naturally yourself, as if you are a good writer as well, right? So here's the tool though, so you can double check and validate it. But yes, it should be very natural. Optimize for answer synthesis, and this has to do as well how well you structure your content. Summarize complex ideas clearly, then expand, so you can have a summary or key takeaways at the beginning. Or at the end. That is always a good practice. Start answers with direct, concise sentences. Favor plain, factual, non-promotional tones as well, rather than overhype and clickbaity, because LLMs will tend to not cite that type of information. Just structure data to help AI models to better classify and extract structure answer as well. And use natural language. You can use Q&A format as well. Here's another example that you can see, but it should be, well, pretty much copywriting 101, right? So it's well structured, all of this. And because I work with a lot of e-commerce clients and commercially oriented clients, this is something that I usually try to address, to enrich these pages in a way that is aligned to this with FAQs that are not fluff, that actually make sense and actually address real questions and doubts at that stage of the customer journey. And I really like how now it's very common to generate summaries of all of the reviews to provide an easy to obtain reference of what is going on with the reviews, if it is positive or negative. And of course, there are tools like the ones that I'm showcasing here on screen, like Phrase, that helps to provide a good structure on the content, provide input on that, also readability. At the end of the day, this has to do with readability as well, right? Then optimize your content for citation worthiness. And this has to do with make your content, what I mentioned before, EAT. Experience-based expertise, showcasing expertise, authoritativeness, and true worthiness signals should be showcased. It should be up to date with showcasing verifiable claims, fact-based statements rather than vague generalities, and of course, it should be, if possible, right? You should feature the author and a real organization behind, because there's this brand identity salience that is also taken into account, includes sources, citations, and so on. We can see that those top brands that are showcased in each one of the topics or industries are brands that, well, they don't only sell and that's it. They provide an accurate and comprehensive experience with insights that will showcase that they are real experts and are worthy to cite, right? So Chewy, for example, the online store, they have this all about pet section with guides, resources, tools that you can use. And this is what people will end up referring and citing and linking, right? So you should make that very easy by identifying, analyzing from your vertical, from your top topics, which are the top brands, websites that are showcased as sources. And for example, this is something that here in this case Systrix, those as well as Profound, and at the page level for each one of this domain, which are the type of pages that are being cited, right? And what are the areas of the content that are being cited. So you can identify patterns and take those into account in your own content. And of course, I have a checklist here that I created some time ago to help you to make sure and validate that your content follow this expertise and experience and presentation and production that we know that search engines like, that facilitate their work to assess that the content is worthy and accurate and authoritative enough to be endorsed and to be referred. That doesn't change for sure. Then, of course, we have tools again, like Phrase, that validate this, try to automate this and facilitate your life accordingly when you are writing content. And you should definitely use schema, and there are tools in order to do that or to validate that easily, like the validator schema here, to help you understand if you have already implemented the relevant structured data or not. Then grow your content authoritativeness third-party signals, right? And this is the popularity, the authority to the third party that comes from optimizing your brand presence across different channels, social channels, forums, digital PR that you can do. Before, it was mostly links that we wanted to attract. In this case, our citations. So the tools like SimilarWebs that offer you this very clear and really nice view of where, which are the top domains that are being cited per topic. So Reddit is one of them. Maybe are you working with your social media team to work on that? Then Spartoro allows you to see where the audience of each topic hands out online, if it is LinkedIn, if it is Instagram, if it is Reddit. So you can collaborate accordingly, and which are actually the LLMs that refer more traffic about this topic. So you can collaborate accordingly with your broader digital marketing team as well. And yes, more signals where the traffic in your sector is coming, and features from SimilarWeb, for example, address that. And of course, optimizing for multi-modal support. This image optimization, video optimization, making sure that these are indexable, that these are quickly load whenever you need, that there are no broken images, that you have all description that are very, very specific and relevant as well. So accessibility also plays a role here, that you make sure that these images and videos are accessible as well and have a good caption and so on. And of course, optimizing for personalization resilient content. This is the fact that LLMs will suggest brands, mention brands that you have already showed that you like previously. And so my recommendation here is like try to tackle and try to craft information that allows you to connect with the user in many different ways. So when it is later in the journey, again, it will you will have much more chances to be showcased in there as well. And finally, to monitor your content AI search performance, I have a to-do here that ideally you will be able to do to follow to assess your audience search behavior, the presence versus competitors, to monitor your AI search traffic, activity, the crawling and indexing, and tools here again to do it. So the Looker Studio dashboard that I showed you before, a tool that is called SEO testing, that I think that they have also premium app access, so you can segment and see only the evolution of your AI traffic and how it converts and performs over time. Similar web, again, you can monitor quite easily your brand versus competitors. Try Profound. And Profound, also the exact same thing. There's a variety of these tools out there for you to use. And just to show you, when I asked about if people are already doing it in SEO or AI search, yes, they are already monitoring content performance. In most cases, they take into account AI search traffic, as well as brand and visibility and mentions, but there's still room and opportunity because some answers were not necessarily positive, right? So as you can see, by assessing all of these key AI search optimization areas, you will now be able to prioritize actions for a positive ROI. It's about aligning and prioritizing your AI optimization efforts with your existing SEO initiatives to high impact as well. Most say that AI search still brings less than 5% of the site revenue when I ask, while for most traditional search, it still brings more than 50%. So it's important to take that into account to prioritize accordingly. However, most decision makers have already allocated budget because it is understood that it is very small right now still, but it is growing, but not as an independent channel. And all of this based on our research and audit, which is reasonable as well and highly recommended. And at the end of the day, most have expanded their SEO accordingly to integrate in AI search optimization within their SEO process, not as a completely new department or area, because as you can see, it doesn't make sense. Everything is connected and SEO principles are there as well. But they do have their own AI search strategy, which makes sense. So if you want to take this step as well, you can download the AI search optimization check for free here that I created in a Google Sheet. And you can learn more about AI search optimization with free, reliable resources from learningai.search.com, which is a website that I created as well. And you can keep up with the latest AI search news by subscribing to the free SEO FOMO newsletter. That is my weekly newsletter that have a latest AI search insight section, as you can see here. And well, now I finally finished. I hope that you have found all of these insights informative and interesting. I'm more than happy to answer a couple of questions as well in case there are a few key ones that are important to tackle.
Yeah, Aleyda, thanks so much. That was so much useful information and you presented it so well. So thank you for that. Are you able to go another 10 minutes? Because we do have a couple of questions. Okay. Okay, so for everyone, we'll go another 10 minutes for questions. I believe Andy has one, and then we'll do Christine next.
Yep. Hi. So I host my website on WordPress and I use Rank Math for a lot of my SEO stuff. I have been in the process of creating an LLM.txt file. I don't think you mentioned that. Is that something you would recommend, or what's your viewpoint on that?
Thank you for bringing that up. Google has particularly said that we shouldn't waste our efforts on creating LLMs TXT files because at least for them, that is a solved problem, right? However, that might not necessarily be the case for other platforms like ChatGPT, but they haven't confirmed, not specify anywhere that they are actually using it. So my recommendations, and then there have been also cases of SEOs that have been testing them. They have created it and monitor how many bots have actually access to them. And in some cases, they have proof that they are accessing these files. However, we don't know necessarily if that influence at all the answers yet, because we haven't gotten at least at that point yet. So my recommendation will be, if it takes a lot of time and efforts to create it, don't do it. But if you just want to test and validate, then it's great. There are other much easier, I believe, and aligned with your already existing SEO activities, ways to ensure that you are showcased in answers if you want to be a little bit more cost effective, let's say. So I wouldn't necessarily prioritize it because of it.
Yeah, Rank Math just has literally a button. You just push the button and it creates the file for you. So it didn't seem like it took too long. So, but I just didn't know if it was, so from a time perspective, I don't think that's an issue, but I just was wondering what your kind of thoughts on it were. So thank you very much. This was great.
Welcome.
All right, the next question is from Christine. The question is, what are your thoughts on creating designs or page components to optimize for search? For example, having a special summary design instead of using headings, paragraphs, and lists.
So if it's great if it is also helpful to your readers. Let's say, I hope that you are not taking things, let's say, that you have already validated and you already know that are useful and relevant and make sense from a structure standpoint, just to add extra fluff, right? So for example, I remember that back in the day when it was shown that, for example, a lot of guides or blog posts that had the index, the talk at the top that was generated, for example, with WordPress by default, everybody and their mother included it and showcasing. In some cases, it didn't make sense, and it only added a little bit of fluff at the top and make it harder for the user to scroll and see the actual content. So from an intent standpoint, it didn't make the experience better. So and then, funnily enough, when the one of the updates from Google came a few years back, in which a lot of these sort of blogs ended up getting or losing their visibility, then a lot of people say, oh, it was because of that talk, like, let's eliminate it. So I don't want that we chase little tactics like that if they don't actually make the experience better. So I will say that whatever you want to do or extract from these recommendations, that should be like the threshold or the validation, right? Does this make sense for the customer journey and makes my experience better, and doesn't add fluff or an experience that is not natural, right? Like in SEO, also for the content optimization side of it, we saw a lot, again, in the past, blog posts and guides in the recipe area or sector, right? That because they saw that the very comprehensive, longer guides ended up ranking better. At some point, they ended up featuring like very long stories and anecdotes about how this recipe came to be. And it didn't provide a great experience because the actual insight was buried at the very end, right? So always think about that. As long as you provide a good experience and it aligns with what the user came to do, then great, do it. If not, better to find a way to do it in a way that is aligned with a good UX.
Excellent. So let's do two more questions. Selena, I think I know the answer to this, but Selena asks, does a website make sense for B2B anymore?
If a website makes sense for the B2B?
Yeah, like having a website.
Yes, of course, yes. So I understand where is this coming from. Like a year ago, I went to a creators event, and it blew my mind to see that the younger generation, they didn't even had a blog. They had an Instagram and TikTok or YouTube channel, and that was it, right? So it depends on who your audience is. And for that, for example, take a look at the tool that I showed you, the SparkToro, or similar web. It can cost a little bit more, but if you have resources, it will show where the traffic is coming, the traffic refers, where are the platforms where people from that sector actually spend time offline and engage online. And it might be worthy to expand your presence in third-party platforms. However, my take is always to own your own brand and avoid having all of your eggs in third-party platforms as well, and diversify. And for that, even if you want to maximize your visibility in this third-party platforms, I will always advise to own your brand, because at the end of the day, there you have full control of your narrative, of what you sell, and to set things straight if you need, etc., etc. And a main source of information for LLMs as well, and to be able to rank in Google as well. So yes, so it's interesting, but a lot of my clients are B2B. I have a client that has to do with actually AI automations. Another one that is a platform for online payments that is only for all the businesses. It's not for the normal person, but it's very targeted towards businesses too. So yeah, there are plenty of sectors, B2B sectors, where it makes sense business-wise to have their own website. And I will argue that from a marketing standpoint, it will always be for the better, even if the transaction doesn't end up happening either.
So I have a question, and we'll make this the last question. So for SEO, we have things like GA and Google Search Console that can very specifically measure the impact of our SEO efforts. So what exists today in GEO to measure your efforts? So you go through your 10-step checklist, but how do you know it's making a difference?
Thank you very much, because actually, unfortunately, yet, and this is something that I have requested quite a few times to the Google spokespeople, that they showcase this information in Google Search Console, the one coming from Gemini, the one coming, they do have AI overviews and AI mode in the current Google Search Console, but it's all blended. And they should have at least a filter in order to segment and to better understand. Then we give a very hard time, at least in SEO, to Google, asking for more information and data. But ChatGPT haven't moved a finger in that regard. And that will be something nice that they do eventually, right? Just to better understand how our experience is, our brand experience is in their answers. Right now, the tools that we can leverage are the ones that I showcase in the presentation. On one hand, analytics as well, segmenting the channel, the AI channel. And then on the other hand, these third-party platforms that unfortunately have a cost, like SimilarWeb or Perplexity, Systrix as well. These are great tools, I would say, that are very complete and also provide prompt information. But yes, unfortunately, this is a challenge that we have right now, and it's not up to us, but the platforms themselves.
Got it. And then Mark added to my question, in response to my question, I think you would need to analyze your own website logs for that kind of info. AI is a great log analyzer. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah, indeed, but you do have to set up the weblog correctly, and I don't know that most people do that with their hosting provider, but you can capture a lot of information, such as the header that identifies who's looking, what browsers and such, all that basic information that you see in Google Analytics. But if GA is not, and I validated what she just said, if Google's not tracking AI bots yet, then we have to at least look at our logs and gain some information from that for now.
Yeah, if you're using also CDNs, for example, like Cloudflare, they have really great by default reports that allows you to see this quite easily as well.
And one last thing, Aleyda, if folks are interested in contacting you or perhaps hiring you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can search for Aleyda in Google. I'm the first one. Very easy. I don't have such a common name, but yes, they can search for me there. AleydaSolis.com as well. Orainti.com is my consultancy. They can look for me in LinkedIn, where I am very active as well.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining, Aleyda, and thanks everyone for attending. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.